Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. What's going on? Welcome back to Force Strategy Gaming. Holy hell, it's been a while since I've come out with just a regular old video. Been really busy with tournaments, casting, also all that live stream goodness that's been going on. If you haven't caught wind of that, go ahead and mosey on over to my live stream, justin.tv/Force Strategy Gaming. Whole lot of fun there. Basically, I'm live streaming all of the private lessons I do. Also, when I play some games by myself or with my good buddy Tempest. He's the guy I usually end up playing games with. But yeah, live stream's pretty cool. Having a lot of fun talking to people there. So hopefully, you guys, if you haven't checked it out already, we'll go ahead and do so. But starting things out today, we have a nice little PvP action going on between WhiteRa, also known as WhiteRa, and Liquid's Huck. So Huck versus WhiteRa, I am excited about this. This is going to be a really nice matchup between these two players. Both, of course, excellent Protoss players, both very well known for their skills and ability. We are, of course, on the Lost Temple here. That's where we are. We are on Lost Temple right now, so should be a fun matchup. Not on one of the new maps. I'm looking forward to casting some games on the new maps because they are friggin' baller, absolutely amazing. I'm loving the new maps. Undoubtedly, we do see right now WhiteRa coming out with that 12 gateway. Same thing is happening right over here for Huck. So both players getting their gateway right about the same timing. Both players also going to be scouting. Oh no, it looks like WhiteRa is scouting in the improper position, but actually no, Huck is going to be going straight across, so never mind. Checking first for the possible probe of WhiteRa by grabbing that Xel'Naga tower. He wanted to see if he could catch it en route, which would have told him pretty quickly where he was. Also going to be doing the same thing over here at this Xel'Naga. Not going to be catching anything at all though. And here we go with WhiteRa moving on down. So now the play going to be scouting. Actually, looks like Huck is going to be waiting for the scouting probe of WhiteRa. So there he is, spot right there, and knowing the timing that he was in fact in this base. Great work there by Huck. I am thoroughly impressed with that. Gateway just coming in right now for WhiteRa, and going to be seeing that Cybernex core very shortly as soon as that 150 hits. Something that a lot of players, especially newer players, really need to work on. Trying to get those building downs the second that they can. You don't want to wait till you have 200 minerals and your gateway's finished to drop the Cybernex core. You want to get that as close to 150 as humanly possible. Also, a bunch of harassment going on here with this probe. Might actually take out that probe very close, but no, going to be shooing away right as his shields get very low. So time for him to leave the base, but still a little bit of extra damage on that probe, softening it up quite a bit. Over here for Huck. Huck's doing, of course, pretty much the same thing. You can see their timings almost right on top of each other. They're just slightly off here on this assimilator. This is, of course, the second assimilator for both players. So their second assimilator timing was a little off, but that's pretty much about it. All else pretty much equal at this point. We can see Huck now going to be chrono boosting out that Stalker. There is, of course, nothing out yet for WhiteRa aside from probes. We are seeing him chrono boosting that warp gate researcher. We're going to be seeing a response of the same. No, we are not, in fact, not chrono boosting in that warp gate research, not as of yet. He does have, obviously, at this point enough. There we go, chrono boost on that warp gate research coming down right now. Also going to be trying to take down that probe. So obviously, all this excitement and all this amazingness that I've been casting so far is pretty just standard and boring and dull and mundane stuff. Nothing exceptional typically happens in the early game, so we try to fill that time with some filler talk here. Looks like the Stalker of WhiteRa gonna be coming up and trying to take out that probe, but oh, look at the sneaky little Stalker coming up the rear here. Is he gonna try to chase down that Stalker and get that one extra shot while this Stalker's distracted? Is it gonna happen? Ooh, look at that fancy maneuvering there of that probe. Stalker still, WhiteRa Stalker not aware and finally pulling back to the home. So nice little fancy footwork. We saw a what was that, Chinese fire drill? I don't know what that was. They were playing round robin or something over there. Sentry at the ramp right here, giving him vision to anything coming in and allowing him to be within distance to force field if necessary. Now taking a look at the buildings here, 2-gate robo and a 3-gate robo coming out from WhiteRa. And for Huck, what do we have? We have the exact same thing, 3-gate robo. However, we can see here that Huck did decide to go with that second gateway a little sooner. Can see his second gateway is out, and WhiteRa went for that robo a little sooner. So just a little deviation between the two players there. Huck opting for the faster gateway tech. Warp gate research just about finished. I'd be interested to see if, in doing so, he intends on being aggressive early. I wonder if that is in fact the case. We can see again, robo still not in, and for WhiteRa, he does have that robo, and this is of course going to allow him to get a nice little scout there. That observer coming out much before Huck's does. He'll be moving right into his base. Now, a lot of what mirror matchups end up being is kind of a mirroring and then trying to one-up your opponent. You try to do what you can to survive, obviously with the same units, the same unit types. You're on even footing aside from any kind of additional advantage you can get from your opponent. What does that mean? per se. What am I talking about? What the hell, Force? What are you even saying with those words coming out of your mouth? And look at that nice little expansion coming out from Huck. The point of what I'm saying is the fact that as a Protoss player, if your opponent goes for 2-gate, it is very difficult for you to defend a 2-gate unless you do the same. It's just not the easiest thing in the world. Usually early game you won't have enough zealots. Well, the same general consensus is here. Looking at a 3-gate robo, the best defense against that is of course going to be another 3-gate robo. If you try to go 4-gate, yes, you're going to be okay initially, but once those immortals start hitting the board, you're really going to start to fall behind. And of course, not having observers leaves you pretty much blind to your opponent. Look at this, WhiteRa doing what he's known for, dropping. WhiteRa has just been continuously harassing in almost all games that I've seen him with Warp Prism, so very effective. He has taken advantage of the fact that Huck has expanded and he is still on 1-base play, so he's going to be able to be a little bit more aggressive early game, and that is his intention. Look at this forward pylon going down right now from WhiteRa, and here comes a small little push. WhiteRa moving in with the Stalker is going to be engaging, pulling back for the moment. However, looks like Huck finally getting out his observer, going to be tailing around this army of WhiteRa, and here we go, nice engagement going forward. Good force fields though from Huck, cutting off some of the forces, leaving some of WhiteRa's forces behind and out of the range, and that was actually a nice little victory for Huck. But taking a look here in the mineral line, nice little War Prism harassment, warping in some zealots, also dropping this immortal, and this is a big advantage right now for WhiteRa. WhiteRa definitely doing a ton of damage, stopping all mining from this expansion. We did see Huck manage to transfer down his units, but right now he just doesn't have what it takes to deal with this. He doesn't have the necessary forces. Also have this nice little battle coming out straight out front. WhiteRa is going to be forced to pull back with that Stalker right now, but the amount of damage going down inside of the main base of Huck right now is absolutely huge. Is he going to take down the Nexus? That would be gigantic. Yes, he does. Nexus going down for Huck. Big victory right there for WhiteRa. Although WhiteRa did technically lose this push at the front here with that drop, he was able to do so much damage, and look at that, Huck coming out with the Colossus. Now this Immortal is going to be able to take that out very quickly. Zealot's going to be tailing that Colossus as well. Immortal just raining hell on these Stalkers, and they're going to be doing the same with the Colossus. He needs to get rid of those Zealots, so those Zealots are going to take it down very quickly. Is he going to have enough time to kill that Colossus? I am not sure. I don't believe so. No, he doesn't. War Prism is going to be forced to pull out at this point, lifting up with those Zealots, and time to go back home. No anti-air. Looks like he's going to be dropping over there, so nice little action so far this early in the game. Taking a look at the unit counting station, we can see right now Huck is at a disadvantage as far as probes are concerned, so that harassment was definitely effective for WhiteRa. He managed to force him onto 1-base play, which is pretty much the equivalent, and now we can see WhiteRa going to take advantage of this moment, capitalizing by coming out with this Nexus of his own. So great play between two players. Nice harassment there from WhiteRa. Dropping down some Zealots, going to be trying to take out the Stalker. Stalker's focus, firing on that War Prism. He's going to make it away. No, unfortunately doesn't make it away. Stalker trying to micro away from the Zealots, let its shield recharge, and then continue to engage. And nice little engagement coming down as well. Zealots from Huck going to be chasing down WhiteRa Stalkers. This is very dangerous. He needs to keep away, but some excellent micro there from WhiteRa, managing to keep away from those Zealots, and good job. Colossus going to be coming into play right now. Obviously, at this point, WhiteRa does not have what it takes to deal with the Colossus. Just with these Stalkers, it's not going to do it. Zealots going to be chasing down, and whenever they stop to shoot, this Colossus is going to be engaging them. So big problem right now as far as tech is concerned for WhiteRa. Huck definitely has that advantage with those Colossus already on the board. Now taking a look inside of WhiteRa's base, we can see finally coming out with that Robo Bay. He's definitely going to need to respond to Huck's Colossus with Colossus himself. Now what he's kind of considering right now is he's considering the fact that he will have an economic advantage once he gets his base up. This base is obviously going to be finished before the base of Huck, the main base here of Huck. He did take it out, and he did manage to drop down that expansion pretty much at about the same time, and you can see again this is already up, so you're going to be seeing a nice little transfer there of some workers moving on over to the expansion. So right now, as soon as this gets a little saturated, WhiteRa is definitely going to be an advantage, so we're probably going to want to see some return harassment here. And another drop going down, trying to deny this expansion. Gonna need to pick that up. Actually very fragile, needs to stay away from those Stalkers, and dropping those Stalkers absolutely immediately pretty much with that Immortal. Just so much damage. Now the trick here is that this is out of vision of those units, so Huck is going to need to get vision of the high ground, but no, actually going within vision, escaping out of that shrubbery there, and did manage to get sniped down. Very unfortunate there for WhiteRa. WhiteRa finally come out with some Colossus, and again, like I said, he's absolutely going to need that. And it looks like Huck may be considering a counterattack right now. This pylon right here allowing him to warp in some units much closer to WhiteRa's base. And here we go, big counterattack coming out from Huck. Huck realizes that the expansion of WhiteRa is going to be in before he manages to get any saturation. Just now getting some saturated on the main, and he realizes he needs to do some sort of damage here. Now, until this Colossus comes out, WhiteRa is definitely in a tough situation. Huck well aware of this with this excellent observer placement. So here comes the push right now. Zealots Zealots in the front, Colossus all the way in the back, going to be doing as much damage as possible. Needs to try to target fire that Colossus, take it out very quickly. Not within range though, and still no fire going down on that Colossus. Colossus coming out for WhiteRa right now, going to shoo back this force, and that Immortal right there definitely played a role in there. Immortals, of course, taking out these units so quickly, trying to target fire down the Colossus, and no! So close right there to losing that. Finally coming down with that last shot. WhiteRa losing the Colossus. That was definitely a big loss on his part. The Colossus of Huck going to be moving in the opposite direction, trying not to get sideswiped by these Stalkers. That would, of course, be a dangerous situation. Huck still aware of exactly what WhiteRa is doing with this excellent observer placement, as I've said before. Tailing back around with his units. Colossus, excellent maneuvering there, moving up and aside, but very careful. Watch out for those Stalkers. Stalkers trying to catch Colossus. I'm not sure if they saw them. I think he did see the Colossus, but he's not really going to want to push up there just to chase around the Colossus, because then he's definitely going to get a big old counterattack from Huck, so definitely has to be careful at that point. Moving out right now with the Observer. Huck does see this Colossus from WhiteRa coming. Now taking a look here at the unit counting station right now. We do have 2 Colossus on the board right now for Huck, and just the sole one for WhiteRa. Now WhiteRa is going to be trying to engage that pylon, managed to take it out very quickly with that Observer spotting the high ground. Actually, no, that was just the fact that his Colossus could see the high ground. I'm just being a dummy, and here we go. Big engagement right now. It needs to be very careful. Getting flanked by this Colossus. Going to be trying to take out units from the back. Stalkers turning around to fire that, trying to take it down as quickly as possible. Looks like WhiteRa in a very good position right now. Managed to take out that Colossus. Needs to take out this one as well. Target fire that down quickly, and you're going to be in a good spot. There we go. Now just try to micro back that Colossus, pulling forward with the Stalkers. Very careful right now. Gonna lose this. Gonna lose it. And yes, he does. Dropping that Colossus, but reinforcing right now with some Stalkers. That was a little intense there on my part. Proxy Pylon going to help. Very quick reinforcements here from WhiteRa. No drops or any other action going down. Just this one fight here in the middle. A great splitting of those units. Managing to get a nice little concave and surround of the units there of WhiteRa. Trying to micro away from those Zealots. The fact that Huck is mixing Zealots into the army definitely playing a big part here. And the fact that he is able to chase down those Stalkers and provide that constant melee threat. But a nice little reinforcement warp in there from WhiteRa. Getting in some additional Stalkers. Wants to pull forward these to help the engagement. We do have 1 Colossus coming out for either player. Also, we can see here, Huck going to be coming out with that Thermal Lance upgrade. If that hits the board and WhiteRa doesn't have it himself, he's going to be in a whole lot of trouble. And there we go. You can see those Zealots just chopping down the Stalkers whenever they do manage to get in range. Trying to warp in some Zealots of his own. WhiteRa is looking to try to counteract this. He's going to probably take out these Zealots alone unless they get microed back, but he needs to be careful because he can't really keep up with these peeled Stalkers. And you can see, again, not a whole lot they can do up until the point they get charged. So we got 1 Colossus coming out from both players right now. Actually, WhiteRa does have his out at the moment. And WhiteRa had a big advantage right now with 2 Colossus to the 1 of Huck. So WhiteRa looking to be, and like, I mean, this is how PvP plays out. Once Colossus hit the board, really, it becomes about a Colossus battle, and then just all these other units kind of thrown into the mix. Whoever can micro the best, and actually looks like a WhiteRa going to be looking to expand. I would say now it's just about the proper timing, and look at that, Huck thinking pretty much the exact same thing right now. You know, you don't want to fall behind economically ever. That is obviously one of the worst things that can have happen. Do we have any other big upgrades coming from either player? We can see that Thermal Lance right now still coming out from Huck. It's going to be finished momentarily. And I still don't think that WhiteRa, oh yes he did. Okay, so WhiteRa has already had that Thermal Lance up. So WhiteRa is definitely all set, sitting pretty at this point. And a little Proxy Pylon coming forward at the center, helping to reinforce and trying to make engagements forced to the center here as opposed to being engaged right by his expansions. And it's kind of a little bit threatening to the expansion. Much rather fight somewhere in the center. Now we can see not a lot of sentries from either player. We do have this 1 sentry over here, 1 sentry over there. It's definitely the case that Zealot, Stalker, Colossus is the bulk of the mix. It's basically essentially what you want heavily. Now the idea here with this 1 sentry is that he's going to be using it for Guardian Shield to try to cut back on the damage taken from those Stalkers. And a nice little push coming down right now. Trying to check that expansion, actually peeling back just for a moment. Needs to go back to not sure what. Oh, he caught the Observer en route and basically was trying to take it out very quickly. Observer's going to be falling around WhiteRa. Here we go. Nice engagement coming down. We have 3 Colossus as opposed to just these 2 right here from Huck. And Huck, does he actually have double Robo? Yes, he does. He does have double Robo right now, so going to be pumping out Colossus at a much faster rate. Taking out the expansion, that was actually big. If WhiteRa can manage to get up this expansion himself, he's going to be in a commanding position at this point in the game. Especially, I mean, it's the case regardless, but economy especially plays a big role as you progress to mid to late game. And if WhiteRa is able to keep this up longer than Huck, he's definitely going to be at a big advantage, like I have already said. And big Battle of the Titans going to be coming sometime in the near future. I am not 100% positive, but I'm going to just assume so. WhiteRa, look at that. Nice pylon placement, getting ready for engagement. Being able to reinforce right here is going to be very effective. And I think that's going to come into play at some point in the relatively near future. Now, taking a look at the production buildings for either player, we can see still just on that one Robo. So WhiteRa is definitely at a disadvantage. Coming out with the Twilight Council, actually, so going to be getting either Charge or Blink Stalkers. If I had to guess, I would say Charge, but I am not a mind reader, so I cannot tell you for certain until that building comes up. Now, obviously, the Colossus advantage is going to start to tilt into Huck's favor, but the idea is that if he can get that upgrade from the Twilight Council, there we go, Charge coming out, so look at that, I guess I can read minds. Charge coming out from WhiteRa. That's definitely going to be the most effective of the two in this matchup, allowing you to swoop up on the Stalkers and Colossus much more quickly. And spotting the Proxy Pylon, that is no longer going to come into play for WhiteRa. That did get dropped pretty quickly. Nice little Proxy Pylon coming over here, just trying to disrupt this expansion as much as possible. Didn't end up killing up anything. Wow, that was a really botched sentence there. Didn't end up to manage killing anything. But here we go. Big engagement coming down from both players. WhiteRa moving forward. He is outnumbered as far as Colossus is concerned. He kind of wants to wait for that charge upgrade to come. So he is definitely wisely advised to be pulling back here. I'm just making up a whole bunch of phrases right now. I don't know what my problem is, guys. Oh, man, it's been I guess it's always been a long week. I definitely have problems with the length of my weeks here. WhiteRa coming out with another pylon because he is supply blocked, and getting a fourth right now isn't really that plausible just because he wants to keep pumping out units. You can see resources very, very low at this point. How is the saturation at the bases? Doing pretty good at spreading things out. Maybe he wants to take a little bit more over here and transfer it over to the gold, although I guess the gold seems all right at this point, so I'm going to let him do what he wants. Observer spotting the army right now of WhiteRa. It's the same thing going on over here. No, we do not have any observer placement from WhiteRa. WhiteRa coming out with some additional pylons over here, getting ready for possible future expansions. Some more proxy. Both players dropping proxy pylons just all over the place, not being just willy-nilly about their pylon placement. Just, again, the idea is quick reinforcement for the battle once it does eventually take place. Charge has finished for WhiteRa. Going to see that come into play during the next big fight. And it looks like Liquid Huck here going to be trying to do some harassment of the corner of the base here for WhiteRa, just trying to pick off some buildings, even killing a pylon or two, trying to get a supply block and forcing minerals to be invested in pylons on WhiteRa's hand. Definitely would be an excellent maneuver here. So let's take a look here at that income tab, and yeah, both players about even. We actually can see WhiteRa is a little bit below Huck as far as probe count is concerned. And here we go, big push. Look at those Colossus number. This is a big advantage for Huck. I am not sure at this point if WhiteRa is going to be able to handle this. It's going to really depend on how effective he is with those Charge Zealots. And here we go, Charge Zealots coming into play. They're going to be trying to swoop up basically on those Colossus, take them out as quickly as possible. Stalker's trying to target fire those Zealots of Huck, and lots of fire going down. Those Charge Zealots actually did make the difference, allowing those Colossus to rain hell on the Colossus of Huck and forcing them to pull back because of that constant threat of melee. Some more Zealots coming in, but no, look at this. Huck's Colossus just vastly outnumbering the Colossus of WhiteRa and dropping them incredibly quickly. We saw that quick Colossus reinforcement because of that double Robo, and that's pretty much what allowed Huck to make a nice little quick victory and a quick swoop up of the units here. Also have some reinforcement Zealots over here, and here comes the push. WhiteRa needs to defend against this. He's going to be in a whole lot of trouble. Again, he is behind on Colossus numbers. Right now, he has actually no Colossus on the board, just a bunch of Stalkers, and there is the GG from WhiteRa. So yeah, great game between these two players. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. As always, this has been Force and Force Strategy Gaming. If you like my content, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And as always, guys, keep watching and keep owning.